Oh, all right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. And actually, it's just ladies. I'm Jamie Cox. I'm the Chief Executive for United Way. And if you look in the video screens, you'll see Toby Dare and Angie Decker both sitting side by side in the United Way office there in Watertown. Toby obviously is our campaign coordinator for the United Way, and Angie Decker is the CIFA chair for Northern New York. And so what I'd like to do very quickly is step you through some slides as the different workplace coordinators and really talk about the resources that are available for your employees to make some smart decisions when they give. And ultimately, you know, I think we have been very, very lucky as state employees, and I can say I'm a government employee because I get a retirement check, that many of us know friends and families who, because of COVID, have been impacted economically and financially in their families. So certainly CIFA this year is more important than ever because we're really trying to help out our neighbors, friends, and our colleagues who perhaps didn't have the good fortune that we had through 2020. So I'll go ahead and step through some slides. Today's agenda, very quickly, this year's motto for CIFA is CIFA strong and New York tough, and it couldn't be more appropriate given everything that we've been through in 2020, whether it be the pandemic starting in February, the social unrest that started in the April-May timeframe, and then certainly we have a lot of things happening politically with elections that causes a lot of turmoil both on our TVs and sometimes in our hometowns. And so we'll talk about the CIFA strong and New York tough video that I'll show next. Then we'll talk about the North Country because that's where we live and that's where your employees live. And they're going to want to know what are the challenges that are being faced and where can they help the most. We'll talk about some solutions, how to make a CIFA pledge, which all of you know how, but you can certainly use these slides and you'll be able to share them with your employees. And then we'll talk about where they can find more resources beyond just that booklet, where they can find resources to learn more about agencies that perhaps touches their heart and they want to learn more about it to be able to give to that effort. So next up is the CIFA video. It'll take about 2 seconds to load because we're going to stream it. And here we go.
Through the COVID-19 pandemic, New York State employees have been on the front lines of the response, supporting the health and safety of fellow New Yorkers. As we continue to respond and recover from this health crisis, the needs of our community persist, and it is more important than ever to join the State Employees Federated Appeal, also known as the CIFA campaign. CIFA provides New York State employees the opportunity to support more than 1,600 501c3 organizations addressing the critical needs of our community during these unprecedented times and all year long. Be part of the largest impact state employees can make. Together, we are CIFA strong and New York tough.
Obviously, I think that's a very appropriate video for this year, and they made it knowing everything that's taking place. Let's drill down from kind of the CIFA standpoint of everything that's happening inside of New York State, all the way down to Northern New York, into our towns and villages. You know, as the United Way takes a look around at Jefferson, Lewis, and St. Lawrence counties, we don't view the counties as homogeneous entities. We really look down at the town and village level to understand what the challenges are, and certainly your employees, the neighborhoods they live in, the towns and villages that they work in, they're much more in tune with what's taking place. So we want to make sure that everybody understands where they can make the most impact in each one of their towns and villages. COVID-19 certainly underscored some of the basic needs. You saw a lot of the nonprofits in the area really focus on food, clothing, and shelter when we were in the February, March, April timeframe. A lot of those higher end social services, perhaps something like literacy, really had to take a back seat to keeping our residents alive and improving their survivability. Like I talked about a couple slides ago, what makes our world even more challenging today is all the directions that we're being pulled. We're being pulled professionally, we're being pulled personally. Our children, their school schedules are different now. And so we have so many different complicated issues that all of us are dealing with. And whether we have children or not, sometimes we have employees and colleagues who have children, and we certainly understand the challenges that they're going through. When the United Way took a look, we too have a campaign slogan. And our slogan this year for our campaign, and it really captures the CIFA component of what we're doing in Northern New York as well, is United More Than Ever. And through CIFA, we take a look at our towns and villages and know that we can't do this alone. Pulling our towns and villages together and helping those who are vulnerable requires all of us to join hands and do that hard work together. We know that for a fact, it's just hard when you're doing something alone, and being pulled together, that teamwork element is what's going to make us survive and succeed up here in the North Country. The next slide that you're going to see is going to be a lead into a CIFA video, but basically it's the United Way campaign video, and it really focuses on the problem sets in Northern New York. So beyond the CIFA campaign, let's start to drill down into the problems that we have in our different communities. So join me in this video.
Dear North Country, I need to talk to you because there are some serious problems in our community happening to lots of people, like my friends, neighbors, family, me. There's this kid in my class who always comes to school with pretty bad bruises. He says they're nothing and doesn't talk to anyone about it. I wish he would.
My health is getting worse. I need to take more medications every day, and the costs keep going up. I don't know how I'll afford them.
Month to month, I struggle between paying my rent and feeding my kids.
My mom works 2 jobs, so I have to take care of my brother and sister. I can't ever do my homework, so I'm probably gonna fail history class.
I feel so alone. Ever since my wife died, there are days I don't see anyone at all.
I can't read like my friends can. The words don't make sense. That makes math even harder. And I'm not stupid, but some people think I am.
I didn't have much growing up, and now I don't have enough to buy my baby clothes and diapers.
Do you see what I see too? And wonder how much could possibly change, or what difference you might make? I know there's a way. United Way helps people who truly need your support. Each year, every dollar donated to the community fund makes lives better. A donation of any amount makes a much bigger, very real impact.
I'll never forget the look on my mom's face when I graduated from high school. I'm so thankful for the nurse who helped me through anxiety and depression after my baby was born.
I don't drive anymore, and my kids live out of town. I'm relieved that I can get to my doctor's appointment safely now.
We now have food in our house every day, so I don't have to bring some of my lunch home from school for my little sister anymore.
Now that I have a safe place to sleep, I can focus on getting into college.
United Way's Community Fund partners with local programs to give people all across our community a safety net of support every day. We need your help. Turn serious problems into positive change for people who need it most. Please give to United Way's Community Fund today.
More important than the United Way logo and messaging that you see there, the State Employees Federated appeal addresses all those challenges that we just saw in the video. I've had the fortune of being part of that video in the terms of the filming, the editing, and knowing each individual that played a role. And as I watch it, it makes me think about everybody in my neighborhood, everybody in my town, and the people that I work around that face some of these same challenges. And I'm sure as you watched it, whether it reminded you of an elderly parent or it reminds you of some of the children that we see in the winter heading to school without proper clothes, this is some tough stuff that we're facing up here. And thankfully, SEFA is here to help. The problem sets that we face in Northern New York are nothing, they're no new surprise to you. You can see the ones on the screen. If our communities were just facing one of these problems, it would be very, very difficult. But all of us know that we're facing all these problems simultaneously. Some of these problems are bigger in one village than they are another, but we know that these challenges exist, and SEFA is there to be a part of the solution, as is the United Way. You know, when we drill down and talk to your employees and when we talk to different donors about what's going on in the North Country, the United Way has the ability to pull in a lot of data and information. We really want to understand what's happening down at the zip code +4 level. We're talking about individual houses and neighborhoods. The chart that you see in front of you in the blue and white table on the right-hand side, you probably can't read it, but you'll see it in the PDF. It lists out every school district in Jefferson, Lewis, and St. Lawrence counties. It's the small area income and poverty estimate, and it's produced by the Census Bureau every single year. I've sorted it by the most impoverished all the way down to the least impoverished. So when you take a look at Watertown City that has nearly 25% poverty, and then we get into a string of St. Lawrence County school districts, about 7 of them that have significant poverty, and then we start to look at some of the smaller schools in Lewis County as well. We know that there are significant problems exist. When the United Way takes data like this and combines it with about 99 other data points, what we create is a map of need. Here you see our 3 counties. The blue and white hash marks represent 9 of the poorest school districts that we have in our region. You can see the green area, kind of the light green shade area there. I actually took a study of what does rural mean per the US Census Bureau, and it all distills down to a certain number of people per square mile. 97% of the North Country is considered rural. No surprise to those of us who live there. But when we think about the social issues that we're facing, the most difficult thing is that distance. As soon as you put somebody in a rural setting, whether you're delivering food or you're delivering telemedicine, or you're trying to provide schooling to children where maybe there's no high-speed internet, solving challenges in the North Country is very, very difficult, and it takes very smart solutions and smart people to come together to figure out how we're going to solve these challenges. The United Way takes a look and says, what are our priorities? And we all have priorities. We have them at work, we have them in our families, and we certainly look and wish we could solve every problem in one day. But as government employees, we all know that there are limited resources and that we have to prioritize our efforts. So certainly the United Way, when we took a look, we say that number one, we want to improve the survivability of the vulnerable families out there. Number two, we want to ensure that we have happy, safe, and educated children. And then lastly, we've got to create opportunity for those adults. Those are our three main pillars, and that covers a lot of ground. But certainly as you and your employees take a look through the booklets and you take a look at the information available, you too can figure out what's important to you to be able to find those right charities that do what you want to improve in the communities. I do want to bring up a couple programs that the United Way is doing right now that's really going to make a difference in the North Country. In 2021, we're standing up what we call our ALICE program. If you're not familiar with the term ALICE, it stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed. And you're going to hear a lot about that in today's day and age as we talk about families. ALICE families, think of them as the families that live paycheck to paycheck. Sometimes that's your brother or sister. Sometimes it's your children who are out on their own. And other times it's the neighbors next door. Maybe they hold two jobs and they're still just barely able to make ends meet. But because they're working, which is a wonderful thing, they don't often qualify for a lot of those federal and state programs that are based off the federal poverty line. So perhaps they don't get food stamps, or they don't get rental assistance or utility assistance. There's no safety net for these families who are working their tails off to try to make their lives better. Here's why the United Way, and here's why New York State is focusing on ALICE. 45% of all New York residents are considered ALICE. They live paycheck to paycheck. There's no money in their savings accounts. When we break down into demographic groups, whether it be Black, Hispanic, a single mother, or young adults under the age of 25, you're taking a look at significant percentages. A single mother, 76% of them live paycheck to paycheck. Again, it's not that they're making bad decisions, and it's not that they're not working really, really hard. They are. They just don't have that buffer of resources. So when their child gets sick and they have to pay a doctor's copay, that $25 or $50 can be make or break for buying food. It can be make or break for being able to put gas in it. So we really want to be in tune with what's going on with the ALICE families. Here's a quick way to take a look at the ALICE families. In 2021, we're starting up a program where we're teamed with 4 different organizations that cover all 3 of our counties. The United Way is investing $100,000 into specifically ALICE families. So when that car breaks down and it's a $500 fix, that family has a choice. They either fix the car to be able to go to work and make a paycheck, but if they do that, perhaps they can't pay their rent or purchase food or pay for their heating bill. The United Way's ALICE program is designed through Watertown Urban Mission, Catholic Charities, Lewis County Opportunities, and St. Lawrence County Community Development Program to give those caseworkers immediate funding, so when we see an ALICE family that doesn't qualify for any other assistance, we can immediately put a stop to their downward slide. The last thing we want for those families is for them to fall into poverty. So we can fix that car. We can do that medical copay and make sure that that family keeps their head above water financially. when we take a look at the CFA funding that gets routed through the United Way and put into the North Country, and then we combine the United Way's grant giving, we're looking at well over $500,000 that together, you and us, put into the communities to make a difference. Think about that, $500,000 that we're putting toward the highest points of need. Where's there the most food insecurity? Where do children not have anything to do after school or during the summer, and that tends to lead to problems? All of you as state employees are well aware that the upcoming budget is looking at probably 20% budget cuts. That too applies to all the nonprofits out there. So if you are doing substance abuse treatment, imagine you still have as many victims of substance abuse that need to recover, yet you're dealing with 20% less funding to be able to do it. The challenging times are really coming up. Down in red at the bottom of this slide is one of my favorite programs. The United Way this year picked the 9 poorest school districts in the North Country, and these school districts didn't even have to apply for a grant. We gave them a grant and said, look, your children sometimes come to school without boots, mittens, hats, and coats because their families can't afford it. We know that the teachers out there who are part of NYSIT and all the other unions and the administrators, they don't hesitate for a minute to break out their purses and wallets to help out. Well, it's time that we help our teachers out. So when that child is identified here long before the first day of snow, we can try to find that pair of boots in the right size through local means and thrift stores. But if we can't find it in a day or two, we go on Amazon Prime and we order it and we have it 2 to 3 days later. That's being responsive to the needs of these children. The last thing we need is a child walking around thinking that their value is based on the fact that they don't have boots and their shoes are wet. That's not where we want to be. It's not rocket science. It's you and us together working to create smart solutions. For those of you who aren't familiar with the United Way's Center of Nonprofit Excellence, I'll just mention it from this standpoint. Every single one of the nonprofits that you give to, we ask to participate in our Center of Excellence. The Center of the Excellence is essentially a schoolhouse, and we try to make it a graduate level schoolhouse where we're teaching our nonprofits to perform at a higher rate, to be more financially efficient, and be more effective at serving their communities. Good hearts and good hands are good things for nonprofits, but if we don't give them the right tools, if we don't take that mental health counselor and give them the best practices that are happening right now in trauma-informed care, we're not helping that community the best we can. So the United Way is standing right behind you at CFA to ensure that our nonprofits are getting the best training they can get to be able to serve your hometown and mine. The United Way is also taking on hard issues, and we do this in conjunction with CFA. We do this in conjunction with different unions that are out there. And this one, when we start talking about justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, that's a really tough topic to be talking about. I'll be the first one to admit, when we talk about this in the North Country, we have a very homogenous population. And quite often, we don't understand the perspective sometimes of the disenfranchised. And I'm not just talking about skin color. Sometimes I'm talking about the fact that you live in a certain neighborhood or a certain school district means that you might not have an opportunity as much as another child who lives somewhere else. Sometimes it's a family name that something happened 2 generations ago, and yet your family name prevents you from reaching opportunity. By taking on the hard issues together, we can start having constructive dialogues about how to be better in our communities for each resident who lives with us. So let's finally talk about investing in the North Country through CFA. This is the most important part, that you, the CFA coordinators, that you're out there engaging with your employees and telling them about the importance. You know, if you go to the CFA website, and here's a picture of the homepage of the CFA website, it's very, very intuitive. I know that all of you have been there, but the ability to find a charity, find a cause, is about as easy as they come. And for those employees, and many of you have employees who don't use computers in their day-to-day jobs, that's why you've been delivered the booklets and the hard copy pledge forms, so they can still find those charities that they're looking for and to be able to donate and give that form to their payroll section for payroll deduction. So as I look here on the homepage, I can find something as simple as the United Way of Northern New York, and that pulls up two different United Ways of Northern New York, one that covers Jefferson Lewis and one that covers St. Lawrence. These are just two simple examples because there are literally hundreds of nonprofits that cover everything from domestic violence to transporting seniors, mental health facilities. So whatever the passion of your employees are, I promise you there is a nonprofit that we can find that we can help your employee invest to be able to focus those funds into that area. Once your employees pull up a particular nonprofit, they'll see what the charity code is, and then they start going through the pledge system. You'll see in the upper right corner is the pledge button, and that will take you to this page, and you can make an e-pledge. So when you click the e-pledge, it takes you right here. So if you have a new donor who's a new employee and they haven't given to SEFA in the past, they click the left button. For all your employees who've done wonderful work in previous years, they click on existing donors, log on there, and off they go to be able to signify how much per paycheck and to what agencies they want money to go. Yesterday, Toby, who's on this call, along with Caitlin Giles, who's on my staff, started to make road trips to deliver the SEFA materials out to all the different SEFA sites. If you can't come to us, we're certainly happy to come to you. We will mail, we'll hand deliver, whatever it takes to put these materials into your hands so that you can get them out to your employees at your workplace. There's posters, there's booklets that list out charities, there's pledge forms, and then you can certainly direct them to the websites. I point out the United Way's website here because what we've done is we've created a SEFA specific page so that your employees, if they're home, can go straight to the United Way of Northern New York's website and pull up that list of charities and be able to look through it. They can actually go to our partners page and do research on those charities because we link to them, and you'll be able to study more and more about those charities, understand if that's what you want to give and if they're performing the mission the way that you want them to. What it comes down to, and ask your employees this, what's important to you? My wife and I certainly have many different things that we're very, very passionate about. Not all our money goes through the United Way. We certainly put money into domestic violence. That happens to be a passion of my wife, who's a retired federal law enforcement agent. So talk to your employees about what's important, and then we help them get more information to find out who's addressing those challenges. There's a lot of desperate needs right now in the North Country. 3 pictures cannot capture everything that's happening, whether it's unemployment, victims of domestic violence, or those Alice families that we talk about. There's more need than there ever is money, and it's true today more than ever. More than anything else that I can leave you with as the campaign coordinators who are going to go out there and talk to the employees, help them make educated decisions. They can learn more about what's happening in all 3 of our counties. Some of those data points that I was showing, the map of need, all that's available on the United Way's website so that your employees can look and see where are the biggest points of need, what school districts are the poorest, what towns have the highest poverty rates or food insecurity rates. So we want your employees to be armed with as much information as they can get to be able to make a good decision. Down at the bottom, those represent 3 buttons in the menu on our website. The partners lists out, I believe, almost 100 different nonprofits that you can click and gain more information specifically on that nonprofit. More than just a mission statement, it tells you about the agency. Our campaign toolkit contains a lot of data and information and videos about what's happening in the North Country. And then certainly if you go to the New York CIFA page on our website, not only is the video hanging there, but we try to help your employees understand even more about what's available to them through the CIFA system in terms of giving. I'm going to turn it over to Angie and Toby here in a second to really wrap this up. But my part ends with this. Our communities can't do this without you, the state employees. It is your generosity. It is the state trooper. It is the woman working at one of the prisons. It's the transportation department. It's the parks department. It's the highway division. All of you combined together to make our communities better. And right now, we need you more than ever. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and hit my mute. Toby and Angie, if you'd come off of mute and maybe give us your closing thoughts.
Hi, this is Angie Decker. Jamie, I can't thank you enough. An excellent presentation. And for my fellow state employees that are on the call and the CIFA people, it would be great if we could share this with all our employees so that they can get a better handle and an understanding of the great need that's out there. As Jamie has said, Toby, along with myself, have delivered materials to each of you. If they're not going to do an e-pledge and you do need paper supplies, please reach out to one of us and we'll make sure that you get it. Jamie, I do have a question. I'm not sure if you can answer. When you were doing the video and you were talking about the e-pledge, I've never e-pledged before, but I've given. So if I say that I'm an existing donor, is my information there, or would I be new because it's an e-pledge that I haven't done before?
Angie, I can't actually answer that because since I'm not a state employee, it won't let me get past a certain point. So I think that's something that either you're going to want to talk to the CIFA office about and then kind of publish that to everybody to say, if you're a previous giver, but you've always done it in a hard copy method, but you want to do it electronically this year because maybe you're working from home, you know, here's how you put in your name, an employee number, here's how you gain access. So I'd recommend talking to the CIFA office at the state.
Okay, great. My last question to you, Jamie, also is, you said that you were recording this. How soon are you going to be able to get this out to share so that we can pass it along?
Minutes.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for myself? Okay, and I'm going to turn it over to Toby.
I do have a question. It's Katie.
Yes.
Okay, this is my second year doing it. Janet was here to help us last year.
Yep.
Just remind me, like, who is eligible for this? Is it year-round employees only, or?
Okay, I remember you asked me this in an email. Anybody can donate, but if they're not a year-round employee, they might want to consider just doing a one-time donation.
Okay.
So they could write a check, or some people in years past have said, I want to give $100, but I only want it taken out of one paycheck. So instead of doing 26 paychecks, they do one. So there are a few different ways that you can accomplish that. But certainly, okay, Katie, if you have questions on that and one of your seasonal employees would like to donate and you're not sure, reach out to me.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Angie, this is Felicia, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think back when I started the e-pledge, I believe you're going to be treated as a new person that's never pledged before, as far as the e-pledge goes. I can't run through it now because I've done it that way for a few years now, but I believe it treats you as a new pledge.
Okay, great, thank you.
Felicia, I was thinking the same thing. Yeah,
Okay.
I think so as well. I don't think it's going to pull up any past hard copy pledge card information.
No, I don't think so
right
either.
about that. I just wanted to say thank you, everybody. It was nice to see who we could see when Kate and I were out making deliveries. And if we didn't get to see you, hopefully the materials arrived in your hands. Angie said she delivered to Jefferson Lewis. So please remember, it's a short campaign period because of COVID and the circumstances, but get your pledges in by the second week of December to your payroll. They need it by that date to have enough pay periods to complete your pledge. So please remember that. And Jamie, I don't know if you want to speak about how you would be happy to come into the facilities. I did mention it to a few people when we were out and about, how you're delighted to do in person and or virtual. So maybe you might want, if you want to share any information about that. And I'll end with thank you everybody for all you do. Always delighted to see all of you and work with each of you. Ange and I are here. Just let us know what you need and how we can help you to run your successful campaigns.
I do have one more question. If they do a pledge online and want it taken out through payroll for the 26 pay period, do they still have to complete a pledge card, correct?
No.
Not if you do your pledge.
No, you either do an e-pledge or you do a paper copy, but they don't need to do both. And Toby receives, because they'll technically, it's 864 that they'll put as the FCC code. It's the county that you work in.
Okay.
So
that
any
will
of the
e-pledge will automatically go to our payroll?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
And the United Way we have access to get into these reports so that that pledge can be donated, just like a hard copy pledge card can be donated or entered into the system, sorry, as your donation.
So it's 864. It's the county that they work in, which is also St. Lawrence County now. And those FCC codes are on the back side of the pledge card, which I think I had written on one of them that I gave as to what you needed to do.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So ladies, I'll wrap up with a comment on what Toby said. I've been to many different places to talk about CIFA and talk about the United Way campaign. Whether your office meets virtually for a weekly staff meeting, or you're still working in your workplace and there's a shift change at 6 in the morning, I'm available to come and talk with your employees however you see best fits. Angie did ask when this video will be available. It'll be a matter of minutes after we end. I'll stop recording. I'll get it posted up to YouTube and then put it on our website, and you'll have a link in your hands by the end of the workday that you can share that link with your employees so they can see the presentation if need be. And again, don't hesitate. If it's a group of 5, I'm happy to talk to those 5 employees. If it's a shift change and you have 20, I can do that. So however we can help facilitate the message, we're ready to go. So ladies, thank you for your time this morning. Please give. More important than ever. And I know that you feel the same way we do. And let's talk to the employees and get everybody to help out our communities. So thanks for your time and have a great day.
Thank you, everybody.